All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into something interesting.
Well, today's a weird one, let me tell you. We're talking about a guy, a guitar, and a hammer.
Hmm. Sounds intriguing, at least.
Yeah, so our listeners send in some news articles, and get this. This guy buys a Taylor Swift guitar at an auction, right?
Okay, pretty standard so far.
Yeah, except immediately after, he pulls out a hammer and smashes it to pieces.
Whoa, hold on. Smashes it, like, on purpose.
On purpose, in front of everyone. It was at this charity dinner, the Ellis County Wild Game Dinner in Texas.
A charity dinner. You'd think that would be the last place for, well, that.
Right. And it was to support agricultural education, too, which makes the whole thing even more bizarre. But okay, let's set the scene a bit. Imagine, rural Texas, big dinner, people bidding on items.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And there's this guitar, supposedly owned and played by Taylor Swift herself, up for grabs. This guy wins the auction, pays a hefty sum for it, $4,000 to be exact.
$4,000. For a guitar, he's just going to.
And before anyone can even process what's happening, bam, he just starts whacking it with a hammer.
Okay, now that's just strange. Like, what's the thought process there? Was he trying to make some kind of statement?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? These kinds of events, especially in close-knit communities, they can be about more than just the item up for auction.
Oh, absolutely. It's about being part of the community, showing your support, maybe even a little bit of showing off.
Exactly. So was this guy caught up in the moment, trying to impress someone? Or was there something more, something deeper behind the guitar smashing?
And here's another layer to this whole thing. Did you find anything about the guitar itself? Was it actually Taylor Swift's?
All right, so buckle up, because here's where it gets even weirder. Ready for this?
Hit me.
The guitar might not have even been a real Taylor Swift guitar. Yeah, you heard that right.
Wait, what? So it could have been a fake the whole time.
It came with a signed CD insert from Taylor Swift, which, is something.
Mm-hmm.
But a source close to Swift's merchandise team actually confirmed that it wasn't a certified instrument ever used by her.
Wow. That throws a whole new wrench into things. Talk about a plot twist. So this guy could have potentially dropped $4,000 on a fake, only to smash it up.
Potentially, yeah. And it makes you wonder, what was he thinking? Was he in on it? Did he know it was fake?
Or was he just, caught up in the moment, not really thinking about the authenticity? Either way, it raises questions about the whole culture of celebrity memorabilia.
Absolutely. It's like how much of it is actually real and how much is about the idea of something, the feeling it gives you, rather than its actual authenticity.
It's that connection, right? Like owning a piece of something you admire or someone you idolize.
Exactly. But when that illusion is shattered, it makes you question everything. Kind of like, I don't know, finding out a band you love sold out for a cheesy commercial. Suddenly that autographed poster doesn't mean as much anymore, does it?
You're right, it loses a bit of its magic. And this whole thing, it really makes you think about the power of symbols, especially when you throw celebrities and politics into the mix.
Oh, and speaking of politics, did you know that around the same time as this guitar incident, Taylor Swift made a pretty significant political endorsement?
I did, actually. She publicly supported Kamala Harris for president, which honestly wasn't that surprising.
No, not really. But it did cause a bit of a stir online, especially with, well, certain demographics.
Yeah, she faced a lot of backlash, particularly from Donald Trump and his supporters.
To the point that Trump himself said, "I hate Taylor Swift" on Truth Social. Can you believe that?
It's definitely not every day you see a former president publicly declare their hatred for a pop star.
Right. But what I found really interesting was the actual impact her endorsement had. Swift posted a link to a voter registration website alongside her endorsement.
Yeah, and that's no small thing, especially with her reach.
Exactly. And hundreds of thousands of people actually used that link to register to vote. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is. It really shows the influence celebrities have these days.
For better or worse, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I know this might sound like a stretch, but do you think, maybe, just maybe, our Texas guitar smasher with his questionable Taylor Swift guitar was trying to make some kind of political statement?
It's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, the timing is certainly interesting. And think about it, this wasn't just any guitar, right or wrong. It was a symbol of someone who'd become a lightning rod in a very divided political climate.
Oh, yeah. You just blew my mind a little bit. It's like this one seemingly ridiculous event, a smashed guitar, suddenly becomes this window into something much bigger. We're talking fandom, Authenticity, political expression.
The power of symbols, especially in today's world.
And, it makes you wonder, what was the message behind the music? Or lack thereof, in this case.
Right, what was going through this guy's head. And in this era of viral videos, where anyone with a smartphone can become a spectacle overnight, it's a question worth asking. How do we discern genuine action from calculated spectacle?
It's hard to say, really. But it's something to think about, right? Next time you're scrolling through your feed and see some crazy video, ask yourself, what's the real story here?
Absolutely. What does it say about us that an act of destruction, even one as strange as this, can spark so much fascination and debate? Food for thought, for sure.
Food for thought. Okay, so get this.
Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bon Jovi.
You know that Bon Jovi son?
He just took over the top to
a whole new level with their Italian wedding extravaganza.
Yeah.
You want all the inside scoop.
We've got you covered.
I mean, what's so interesting here is this was actually their second wedding celebration.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had a more low-key event back in May.
A second wedding.
Okay, now I really need to hear more about this Italian job.
Okay, so just imagine this.
Villa Sitnelli.
This breathtaking estate in Tuscany dating back to the 1680s.
Hold on.
1680s. This wasn't just like a wedding venue.
This was practically a historical landmark.
Exactly. Villa Sitnelli is renowned for its Baroque architecture.
And sprawling gardens.
Wow.
It even has a secret garden maze.
And to think, a place steeped in such history
Hosted this modern celebrity wedding.
Talk about setting the scene.
And I heard the photos are something else.
Massive floral archways, a chic black and white theme.
Yeah, it really speaks to, I think, a growing trend.
Especially among younger couples.
Of opting for both an intimate ceremony and a larger.
More extravagant celebration.
Okay, so this whole second wedding thing has me wondering.
Is this becoming like a more common thing?
It's definitely a trend on the rise.
I think,
It could be that couples just feel the pressure to cater to different groups.
Right. So you have a smaller ceremony for, like, close family.
And then a bigger bash for everyone else.
Right.
Or maybe it reflects this desire for personalized experiences.
Where each event holds a distinct meaning for the couple.
That makes sense, yeah.
So back to this over-the-top Italian wedding.
We got to talk about the fashion.
Millie had, like, what, 4 different looks?
Oh, yeah.
And each one was stunning.
For the ceremony, she went full-on romance.
In a white lace gown with a corset-style bodice.
Square neckline, and of course,
the dramatic veil.
Classic Millie. But
lace seems to be everywhere these days.
lace is having a real moment in bridal fashion.
Yeah, it speaks to that desire for timeless elegance.
But with a modern twist.
And Millie's gown, while tapping into that trend, still felt unique to her.
Okay, what about the other looks? Did she stick with the lace theme?
For the reception, she switched gears completely.
Donning an Oscar de la Renta lace column dress.
Wow.
It was breathtaking.
Oscar de la Renta. He's known for a certain kind of sophisticated glamour, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. His designs often blend classic silhouettes with intricate details.
And luxurious fabrics.
And the halter neckline and low back of this particular dress provided a striking contrast.
To the ceremony gown's more traditional feel.
So she went from classic romance to modern elegance.
What was next?
For the after party.
Millie went for a playful vibe.
In a satin mini dress.
And even wore Jake's bow tie.
Okay, I love that.
It shows that they weren't afraid to have some fun and let loose.
But speaking of Jake...
What was he rocking in the fashion department?
Jake kept it classic and stylish in 2 Tom Ford suits.
One white for the ceremony and black for the reception.
Tom Ford.
Talk about a power move. It sounds like both Millie and Jake,
brought their A game to the style department.
They definitely did, yeah.
And speaking of Jake's style...
It complements the more intimate affair they had back in May for their actual wedding ceremony.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
It's interesting how they chose to have this huge celebration in Italy.
After already tying the knot.
Yeah, it speaks to, I think, the different ways couples approach marriage these days, right?
Some want the grand celebration with all the bells and whistles.
Right.
While others prioritize a more intimate moment for their vows.
Having 2 separate events allows them to embrace both.
So they get like the best of both worlds.
What do we know about this first, more low-key wedding?
Well, it seems to have been a much smaller gathering.
Likely with just close family and friends.
So very different from the Italian extravaganza.
Exactly.
And if John Bon Jovi's comments are anything to go by.
It was a truly heartfelt occasion.
Oh, what did he say?
There's an interview where he mentions the May wedding.
And he just gushes about how beautiful Millie looked.
You can tell he's thrilled to have her in the family.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's always heartwarming to see those father-in-law approvals.
But let's rewind a bit.
For those who might not know their love story,
How did Millie and Jake even meet?
they actually met in 2021.
And, like many modern couples, their story began online.
Online.
No way. Seems like everyone meets online these days.
Right.
So they met online, started dating.
And like 2 years later, they're having not one but 2 weddings.
Talk about a whirlwind romance.
It really speaks to the fast-paced nature of relationships today.
Especially in the age of social media.
And instant connection.
For sure.
But aside from the whirlwind,
It seems like this relationship has been really good for Millie.
didn't she say something about how Jake encourages her independence?
You're right, yeah. In interviews, Millie has talked about how Jake supports her ambitions
And helps her find her voice.
as a young woman.
And particularly someone in the spotlight.
Having that kind of supportive partner can be incredibly empowering.
It's so important, and especially when you think about all the pressures.
Yeah, young women in Hollywood face.
Right.
To have that kind of foundation in a relationship.
That must be amazing.
Absolutely.
But, okay, so we've covered the lavish setting.
The fashion, their relationship.
But it begs the question.
Like, why are we?
So fascinated by celebrity weddings like this.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Because, on the one hand,
These extravagant events, they feel so far removed.
from most people's experiences,
Right.
yet there's this undeniable pull.
This glimpse into a world of fairy tale romance and luxury.
Yeah, it's like escapism almost.
We get to live vicariously through these larger-than-life figures.
Even if it's just for a news cycle or two.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's not just about escapism either.
These weddings often act as like cultural touchstones.
They reflect evolving trends in fashion.
Lifestyle choices.
And even like how we define marriage itself.
That's a great point.
Millie and Jake's choice to have 2 weddings is like...
A perfect example of that.
Exactly.
It reflects a shift in how some couples are approaching marriage.
Opting for both intimacy and grand celebration.
Exactly. So while on the surface,
We might be drawn to the glamour and the fairy tale
there's actually a lot more to unpack.
beneath the surface.
So what does this all mean?
Honestly, I think that's for you to decide, dear listener.
Is Millie and Jake's wedding an aspirational fairy tale?
A fascinating reflection of evolving traditions.
Or maybe it's just a fun distraction from the everyday.
Whatever your takeaway.
I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
And hey, if you ever find yourself planning a multi-wedding extravaganza...
You know where to find us for inspiration?
Okay, so get this. Lana Del Rey got married. Like, Lana Del Rey.
No way. I did not see that coming.
Right. And it gets even better or weirder, depending on how you look at it, because the guy's like the opposite of who you'd picture her with.
Okay, you're killing me. Spill the tea. Who is this mystery man?
All right, so this is Lana Del Rey we're talking about, right? Queen of Americana gloom, tragic love songs, always draped in diamonds and looking like she walked straight out of the 50s.
Exactly. She practically invented heartbreak chic.
And she's 39 now, right? Well, buckle up, because she went and married a 49-year-old alligator tour guide from Louisiana.
Hold on. What? Alligator tour guide. Are you sure this isn't some elaborate album promo?
I know, right? It sounds like a setup for one of her music videos, but it's totally legit. Jeremy Dufresne is his name. And apparently they met a few years ago, reconnected recently, and boom, straight to the altar. Whirlwind romance, much.
Now, those always make you wonder, don't they? Like,
Yeah.
Is it going to crash and burn just as fast, or is that just how some people know it's real? That instant spark, got to go for it kind of energy. It makes you think about all those Del Rey lyrics about passionate, kind of doomed love affairs, too.
Exactly. And now she's with this guy who, at least from what the articles are saying, seems like the total opposite of that whole scene, down to earth, you know? Our sources describe him as this great guy, super charming, real Southern gentleman who treats her like a queen.
Which, honestly, good for her, right? That kind of respect and kindness,
Yeah.
that's the foundation for anything solid. Especially when you're someone like Del Rey, constantly in the spotlight, scrutinized for everything. Finding someone outside that bubble who just gets you, that got to be pretty damn appealing.
No kidding. It makes you wonder, right, if maybe this time around she's not looking for the drama that inspired all those amazing songs. Maybe she just wants something real, something stable.
Right. Like, maybe heartbreak was the muse for a while, but contentment, that's a whole other artistic well to tap into.
And speaking of putting it out there, did you see that fan video of them? The one where they're all lovey-dovey and she pops into the comments and calls him the one and only, even said they're very happy.
You know, for someone who's built her whole image around melancholy, that small statement, very happy, it speaks volumes. It's like she's saying, yeah, this is different, this is good.
Right. And she's not just telling us, she's showing us.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that we really don't know what goes on behind closed doors or what truly fulfills another person.
So what's the takeaway here? Lana Del Rey, pop's resident sad girl, falls for a dude who spends his days wrangling gators. What can we learn from this totally unexpected love story?
Well, for starters, maybe it's a sign that we shouldn't be so quick to put people in boxes, especially when it comes to love. Who knows, maybe the perfect match is out there looking nothing like you'd expect, challenging your ideas and showing you a whole new perspective. Maybe that's the real adventure.
Sometimes it's the unexpected pairings that remind us that love really can be found in the strangest, most wonderful places. And who knows, maybe her next album will be full of sunshine and rainbows.
Okay, that I gotta hear.
Me too. All right, that's it for our deep dive on Lana Del Rey's surprise romance.
All right, so picture this. It's the holidays, you're thinking, like cozy fires, those cheesy Hallmark movies.
Great sugar cookies, everything.
Yeah, exactly. But Nicole Kidman's decided to spice things up a bit this year.
Definitely not your typical holiday film.
Her new movie, Baby Girl. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I've seen the trailer. It's pretty intense. And the fact that it's A24.
Okay, that's interesting you say that. What's the A24 connection mean for those that don't know?
Well, they're known for being pretty out there. Like, remember The Lobster? That was A24. So we know going in, this isn't your typical love story.
Definitely not. We're talking like Kidman is this high-powered CEO,
But
right?
top of her game, yeah.
But then she risks it all for an affair with, get this, her intern, who is much, much younger.
That's the part that's got everyone talking, the age gap.
Well, and her character in the movie. She's 57.
And the actress playing the intern, Odessa,
Dickinson, yeah.
she's only 28, so it plays into this whole power dynamic thing.
Which, okay, Kidman's amazing at those roles. But to go back to what you were saying about A24 and them being edgy, Kidman's kind of built a career on going for these complex female roles, right?
Big Little Lies, The Undoing. She dives deep.
Always. And didn't she say somewhere that she's drawn to, like, the vision of female directors?
Totally. And this director, Helena Rain, she's, up and coming, making a name for herself. So it's almost like Kidman's using her influence to boost these stories.
Which I think is really cool, actually. But yeah, back to Baby Girl itself, the trailer, it's a lot. There's definitely some, and I'm quoting the article here, charged and intense scenes.
Yeah, they're really leaning into the steamy aspect.
Right. So, as someone who's seen the trailer, how do you think those scenes are going to fit into the whole thing? What's the deal?
Well, I think it's super important to note that Kidman has talked about this, about feeling safe on set, not exploited. She really trusted the director to handle those scenes in a way that's,
Respectful.
Exactly,
Ooh.
because that's a fine line when you're dealing with these kinds of relationships, especially on screen.
Yeah, totally get that. So it's not just gratuitous then.
Well, that's the question, right? It's like how they use those scenes will determine if it's empowering or more like a cautionary tale about desire and, I don't know, maybe the danger of it all.
See, that's what makes it a thriller to me.
Yeah.
It's like, is she in control or is it going to blow up in her face? Those are some high stakes.
It makes you think, too, about why these kinds of stories, older woman, younger man, why they fascinate us so much. What is it about that dynamic?
Right. Is it just about, like, flipping the script on traditional gender roles? Or is there something deeper going on?
And that, I think, is what Baby Girl is trying to unpack a little bit, like making us question our own ideas about ambition and what we as a society find acceptable or taboo. It's a lot to process.
It really is. Well, folks, there you have it. Our deep dive into Baby Girl. Let us know your thoughts.